Today we are going to talk about one very recent incident response case that we have handled with one of our client. The case started with a QR phishing that we call also as a quishing, and after that QR phishing generated and it end up with a business email compromise. So it's a massacre kind of situation. So there are a lot of hints over there. So there has been MFA fatigue attack, there has been AWS compromise, something like an account compromise attempt, and also there are some footprints also from the endpoint as well that we uncovered throughout these investigations with one of our clients. So in today's episode I'm going to talk about this QR quishing, what basically this is, a very basic stuffs of theory so that you can understand what we are dealing with, and then we will directly jump into our actual analysis that we have done for our clients. Of course we have done the same level of simulation with the real time but mimicked log, so we can show you exactly the step-by-step process. So without wasting a further time, let's directly jump into our session and let's see what we are waiting for. So what is actually quishing, or what is actually a QR phishing? Okay, so I have the link in front of my screen. So I mentioned again, this is not a very new kind of attack. Okay, so it has been there from 2024, very first beginning. Okay, so I leave the link in the description also if you want to have a look. But if you see the full workflow over here, okay, so how quishing actually works. Okay, so first of all it starts with a QR code that is placed in an email. Okay, so as you are seeing over here, so this is the first step of it, right? So a QR code is placed in an email, website, or in a poster. Okay, so what happens next? So for an example, once you, let's say if you are a user and user scans it, so just like thinking it's a legitimate email. Okay, it can come from, let's say like LinkedIn, it can come from Starbucks, just like something like a business promotion kind of scenario, right? But it can also come from your own organization as well. Okay, saying that hey, this is a email from M365, okay, which is saying that your password is going to expire and you need to scan one QR code. Okay, and then what do you think that once you access that QR code, basically you scans that QR code, it directs you to a phishing website disguised in a login page. Okay, so now in the real world you have no clue about that kind of login page or what kind of thing can happen, because almost it looks like exactly the similar thing that you are working with. Okay, so if you see some of the examples over here, so obviously there is a typo over here, but in real world you will of course see this is something like coming from legitimate website, legitimate looking like website that you can see over here, something like LinkedIn, hey Josh. Okay, so just consider that you could have seen an email which is coming from M365, right? Obviously it can happen, right? So now what's next? Once you receive this kind of email, so of course you will go through of that, right? So you will go through and you will believe that there of course is something a legitimate activity, right? So and also this kind of promotional email can also come. Okay, and after that you will see this kind of login page will appear. Okay, and just see the link, guys. Okay, so it is just like providing you the exact login page. Okay, if I want to zoom in a little bit and I want to remove my markups over here, so if you notice, guys, okay, it's very difficult for a normal human being to distinguish between this kind of link. So what they have done, linked IRN, they have added one small R over here, right? Does it make sense what they are actually trying to quiz you? And then what happens? You probably put down your LinkedIn password. So in our case the actual website was M365 website. Okay, M365 login page. Of course, I won't be able to show you the login page because of the customer confidentiality, but I'm just trying to explain what actually happened. Okay, so now assume that you have this M365 login page, you have provided your email, password, and of course, since this is an organization and to gain your trust, okay, so it will route your access to multi-factor authentication, something like, you know, your tokens, your passwords, or something like what you have extra, something like your authenticator app and stuff like that. So now in our case, okay, so user has been bombarded with multiple MFA attempts that we called as MFA fatigue. Okay, MFA fatigue. Okay, so now it keeps on continuing until unless you get just like pissed off and you hit the yes button, okay, to access, to grant access. The same thing has happened. So once, as you know, as soon as you grant the access, attacker gets into your account and it authenticate. Of course, like when there is an MFA authentication, there could be Okta logs, there could be, you know, Okta authentication mechanism, and in our case it was Okta. Of course it was Okta, but the thing was that it is Okta with Microsoft, okay, and Microsoft authentication process, and plus in the back end the code was going to AWS. Okay, so once you authenticate with your M365 login, it was actually a backend integration between two of the clouds. Okay, so it's a very crazy situation. Okay, so you might be assuming that, hey, I am talking about M365, then why I'm talking about AWS again, but the page was for M365 login. Once you logged in into your AD account, it's get routed with Okta MFA, and then it's get routed to your AWS developer account. That's how the authentication process was set up in client network. Okay, so now consider this situation, okay, and you are as an incident responder. So what action that you are gonna take? Okay, so I'm going to directly jump into the Splunk now and start the investigation, starting from review the MFA logs in Okta, and of course we will see what's gonna come next. Okay, so I am in front of my Splunk screen. Okay, so of course we would be having multiple or we would be having loads of different indexes. Okay, so now as an investigator, you can quickly type down this command to identify what all indexes that you have. So I'll quickly do that. Event, of course, event count, and then I'll do a summarize. Okay, and then I'll do a false. Yeah, and then we can do as index equals to star. Okay, and then of course you can do another pipe, and then you can dedupe the index, and you can do also another pipe and do table index. Okay, so you can do it all time as well. So this was basically, this will give you what all indexes that you have within your Splunk environment. Okay, so what we have over here, what we are dealing with over here, just let me quickly glance you through and what is our scope. So of course we would have some scope for CloudTrail. Okay, we have access analyzer, we have guard duty, we have Okta, we have S3 logs, and we have some different logs as well, of course, like CrowdStrike logs as well. Okay, so now the thing is that so our main intention is that we need to look for the Okta logs. Okay, maybe we will look for the CloudTrail activities, and of course we will look for, since we have the CrowdStrike, we would also try to see if there is any post cloud to endpoint, that kind of traversal or that kind of lateral movement has happened. Okay, so let me clean up my screen for a second now. And so what we are gonna do next? Okay, so we can directly start our investigation from Okta events. Okay, so if you see this, okay, so if you do this, index equals to Okta. Okay, so if I do a all star, So of course you will see there are a lot of events over here. Okay, so first we will type down with Okta, and if you see in the left hand side we are having the interesting fields. Okay, so now remember what we are exactly looking for. We are exactly looking for the MFA authentication logs, right? So in MFA authentication logs, generally it gets captured as, you know, event type. Okay, so if you see over here, there is one event type. Okay, so the event type is user authentication auth via MFA. That gets captured whenever Okta redirects you to a authentication multi-factor process. Okay, so now what we will do, we will use the same thing. Okay, event underscore type and this one, and then we will put down a stats command. Okay, so that we can just, you know, understand what is the statistics of whole, what the hell is happening, stats. Yeah, so and we will put down the success command, and we will probably try to look what is the success and failure attempts. Okay, so for that we can put down an eval over here. Okay, we can do this, or let me, you know, quickly get it from my script to save the time, and I'll explain you what I'm trying to do over here. Okay, so I'm trying to put down an eval statement for where the result is success. Okay, and I can make it as, you know, something like success count, and then also I can do the same thing. Okay, and then put it as failure. Okay, where result is failure. I hope that is correct. And we can do is as, you know, failure count. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So let us try to see what exactly has happened. Argument eval result equal to is not correct, so I think I have botched up something. Let's see. Okay, so while you do the eval statement, right, so just remember one thing, you have to group it by something, right? Something like actor ID or some information, right? So I missed that one. So what I'll try to do, I'll put down that. Yeah, I hope now it should work. Yes. Okay, so as you now see, I have the actor ID information names over here, and I have the success count, and I have the failure counts for all of the users over here. So of course I am seeing a lot of failures that is happening from all of the users, and I am having success count also over here. Okay, so now let us try to do one thing. Let us only try to look for where my success is more than 0. Okay, so what I can do, I can do success count is greater than 0, and also failure count greater than 0. So I'm trying to look for only those login attempts where user was able to you know, get access, or the success event happened after a lot of failures, right? So that means that there is a probable attempt for MFA fatigue, right? That's what I am trying to do. So now if you see, interestingly, there are 2 users. Okay, so these particular 2 users, okay, so M Davis and the Z King Corporate each has 2 success counts. Okay, but they have huge number of failure counts as well. So now what we can make an assumption from over here, so these particular users from all of the previous list were targeted against, all of the users basically targeted against fatigue, right? But these 2 users got pissed off and they have clicked the yes button. Okay, so there comes the main problem. So now we need to think on from this angle to take it as a pivot point, and we can keep digging into that. Okay, so now, so we have 2 users with us, correct? And we have the success count with us. So now first thing first, what we will try to now look for in the CloudTrail log to identify what are these users have been doing. Okay, so I have the command exactly for that. Okay, so I'll try to look for it. So now I will try to look for index equal to AWS CloudTrail. Okay, and then I will put up a search command where user identity dot arn Okay, so I don't need this full ARN, so I can just type it something like, because my username is M Davis, right? So I can put it like this, M Davis, or I can put it something like the same thing. Okay, user identity dot ARN Z King, right? Because these two are my users. Okay, this is done, and then what I will try to do, I'll put down another eval statement. Sorry. Okay, and then I will put down the MFA success. Okay, and what I'll basically try to do, if the MFA success is failure, I try to look for what all activities this user has done. Okay, so if the MFA success is true, okay, so then put down me all of the things. Okay, so this is the way that I will try to do over here. Okay, and then I will do again stats and then count by all this thing. Okay, just bear me a second, just let me get the command. Okay, so I'll put it here. Okay, little bit of scripting here and there. MFA status as event name. Okay, so let us understand this, what exactly I'm trying to do over here. So in this particular area, right, I am putting down a MFA status, and I am looking for if user identity session context attribute MFA authentication is true. Okay, that means the user were able to get to the MFA attempt. Okay, if it is success or failure, now give me the count of user identity, their role, their event name, and MFA status from CloudTrail log, right? And I am trying to correlate with these two users. So in previous search, we identified these two users has given yes, but now we are trying to identify what all the activities that these two users could have performed, or just to verify whether after MFA attempt has been successful, the AWS login has been successful or not, right? So this is our intention. So let's go ahead. Yeah, and we see a lot of things. Okay, and if we see MFA success, and of course the event name will be assume role with SAML. Okay, and they are assuming a role which is called test admin. Okay, for both of the users, okay, J King and M Davis, both of the user we see success, failure, both entities. Okay, so now the outcome is, so basically which user we are trying to identify, which user were able to successfully log into AWS account and assume a specific role. Okay, so now if we see over here, failure, success is coming from J King. Do we have success from M Davis? Success, I don't think so. Let us remove this probably, and we will understand. Okay, yeah, we have success failure from J King, and if I put this down and if I remove this, yeah, so both the users were able to successfully log in after the MFA verification has been done. Okay, so now what next, what we should do next? So as a next step of activity, so once the user has logged in, we need to look for what are the activities that the user has performed on the CloudTrail logs, right? So that is our next step of action. Okay, so now what we will do, we will remove this particular things over here. Okay, so I'll paste down the command first, and then I'll try to explain what exactly I'm trying to do over here, just to save the time. Okay, if I start typing, it will take a whole lot of time. Okay, so rename message, error message, I hope this is correct. Assume role table. Okay, so what exactly we are trying to achieve over here? So we are trying to achieve the basically tracking the user activities within our AWS account by any abnormal potential harmful action. So what do I mean by that? Okay, so I mean by that I am looking for user identity.arn, which is not basically role of this one. So now I am targeting if the user, so of course we by now we already know that what exactly the role the user has assumed, right? The user has assumed this particular role on this particular account as test admin. So now here we are not concerned about only this role, we are concerned about anything else from this role, and then we are trying to put what is the user identity, what is the event name, if there is an error what is the code and message, and what is the session issuer ARN, so that we can correlate that further. And after that we have just renamed the same columns and we have put down into the table. Okay, so pretty easy peasy thing. So let us see. Awesome. So now here look at this, guys. Okay, so what is the outcome over here? So in this area, in this basically area, so we are able to identify that this particular user, so both the users, and if you see the user ARN, they have assumed the role test admin M Davis and test admin Zaking. So again, this is the assumed role. And what is the event name that they have done? They have tried create function, create role, create user, and another assume role. Okay, so I am not sure why there is another assume role activity over here. Maybe something internal was going on, but just look at the other functions, guys. So these are the things which we should be concentrated about. But the good thing is that we see the error code. So all of them are access denied. So we don't have an error message, that is fine, but we have the error code, of course, like access denied. And just look at this count, guys. Okay, so huge number of counts. So but luckily we don't have an success event. Okay, but in real world you may have some success event based on the permissions that is given on this test admin role, right? So you may have been looking on the policy statement and stuff like that to confirm what is the exact activity is going on. Okay, now so far so good. Okay, so what we could do next, right? So now as an investigator, since now there is a blockage because user might not be able to do something else on the cloud, right? So as a next step, what we can do, we can review the logs from the endpoint basically quickly to see the activities what the user has been doing. And how we would correlate, we will correlate with the user ID over here. Okay, so I'll completely remove this thing off and I'll now go to my CrowdStrike. Okay, and I have a lot of events from CrowdStrike. Okay, so now what I will do, I will do a spot. Okay, input equal to I need raw, so that I can understand the raw. And now I will put down the search user.email equals to mdavis, mdavis.company.org. I hope I should see something. No, did some mistake over here? Let me relook this thing. Yeah, I have mistyped it. Okay, so now we have events from the endpoint, basically where what the machine that M Davis was using, we have that particular log. And now we can do a quick table. Okay, and just to see what all activities it has been doing. Okay, so if we see this, and we can do a short underscore time. Okay, let's see. Awesome. So this is very interesting thing, guys, right? So what we are now trying to look for, the activity, suspicious activity from the machine that M Davis is owning. Okay, and just now see the event action, guys. Ransomware detected. Okay, privilege escalation. Okay, and file encryption. Okay, so now these are all critical level of alerts, and you are seeing not only the threat names over here, but what all the files that has been dropped on the endpoint too. Okay, there is an exploit.exe got dropped, there is a report. Okay, there is a file read, file write activity. Okay, and if we keep on scrolling, just let's see what we have. Okay, so we have a network connection to chrome.exe. We have lot of things, lot of ransomware detects. Yeah, you see there is a test file.txt which is telling the CrowdStrike, basically telling that these are the ransomware detection process. Okay, so basically what does it mean by that, right, guys? So this particular thing means that not only so first thing, there was an MFA fatigue attack after, of course, the QR quishing has been happened. Then there was business email compromise. Basically we have seen 2 users among all of the users has been targeted, and they have clicked the yes button. We could verify the login attempt from AWS account successfully. After that, we have also tried to see what all other activities has been happened on the cloud. Luckily there was no activity has happened on the cloud. Okay, but there were endpoint activity that has happened on the cloud. Okay, that has happened on the endpoint level. We have seen so many activities. Okay, so now one more thing probably we can do over here. We can just for the I would say confirmation purpose, because we haven't seen anything suspicious on the cloud. Endpoint is infected, that we are for sure, but there is something called AWS Access Analyzer. Okay, so by which we can identify if there is any permission assigned to the user, that means the IAM user M Davis, okay, which are not actively used, and maybe the user is, or the attacker is trying to provocate that or trying to leverage that, which are unassigned permission to make some privilege escalations and stuff like that. Okay, so we can quickly look for the index. Okay, equals to AWS Access Analyzer. Okay, basically IAM analyzer. Okay, and we will do where finding type equals unused permission. Okay, sorry about that. Or there could be unused IAM key also, which are not being used on M Davis user account. Okay, let's see. Okay, perfect. So we have the logs over here. Okay, for the whole time activity that we have been doing over here. And note, guys, okay, there is a finding type. Okay, unused permissions are there, unused IAM user access key is also there. And note this, guys, this particular role, okay, it is coming in IAM analyzer as well, that there has been unused permission. Okay, and this particular account ID is the same account ID where this M Davis and Zaking user are part of. Okay, but look at this, guys, this particular role, okay, is part of a different account, but we do not have an evidence at our hand that M Davis or Zaking were tried to access this particular resource, okay, or try to gain access on this particular account. Okay, you can check that out. Okay, comment me and let me know how you do look ahead and how would you identify this lateral movement activity on the cloud network. Okay, but for the time being we don't have this this particular access for now. Okay, so let's move ahead and we can check another activity in terms of guard duty. Remember, guard duty provides us all of the activity investigation. Okay, so we can quickly look for our guard duty alerts as well. Okay, so let us quickly check what guard duty has to tell us all about. Okay, ID, oopsie. Okay, so we have of course it will keep you telling that there is some malicious activity that is happening with the test admin role. Okay, of course the assume role is being suspicious. Now the description. Okay, so now the description says that S3 bucket test bucket was granted public anonymous access by administrator calling put bucket policy. Okay, so there is a suspicious activity that is happening on the policy level or on the role level. We are not able to see that on the user level, but if you see on the role level, so what is happening here, guys? So sorry, let me delete this thing. Okay, so there is one thing. Okay, so there is one thing called role. Okay, and then there is something called user. Okay, and of course what also we have identified that MFA and identity provider IP, which is nothing but our Okta over here. Okay, so when some user, something like this kind of user, something like M Davis or Zay King, they tried to access, their access was routed to Okta, right? It triggered a MFA. If it is successful, they got a role. Okay, so this particular user, which is part of the AD group, they got access on the role. Okay, so this is how basically organization access happens. So now if there is an activity that is happening which is suspicious on the role level, so whoever the user who is assuming that particular role, we can confirm that that user can be doing all those suspicious activity that we are seeing on the role level, right? So here if you see this particular policy, this particular this is another type, and CloudTrail logging disabled. This is a crazy thing, guys. Okay, so assume role and then test admin has done CloudTrail logging disabled. So there could be another reason that for this particular activity we were not able to identify any direct, access or logs on CloudTrail from M Davis or Zay King because the logging has been disabled. Okay, so what is it telling? Test admin was disabled by administrator calling stop logging. Oh my god. So cloud is crazy. So now at least at some point in time we have we could understood that there are some more activity that is happening on the cloud level. Okay, so now coming to the last part of the puzzle, okay, or the investigation. Okay, so what could be your investigation questions that you should be asking if you are an investigator for this case? Okay, so there can be a lot of things. There can be, what are the usernames associated with this MFA login? Do this user have high number of MFA attempts, both successful and failure in past 7 days? Right, because right now we have done all days. Okay, but there is a probable time frame of the investigation that can be achieved, right? So what is the ratio of successful to failure attempt for past 7 days? What are the IP addresses that is involved in MFA fatigue? Okay, and do you see any typical kind of location or pattern from those login IPs on the users? Okay, there would be some more questions. Okay, so I would like to leave that thing open for you guys for the time being. Okay, so of course I will drop another probably a part 2 video for this investigation, so where we would list down all of the questions, and also please comment me and let me know if you are an investigator what all the live questions and what all the live scenarios, or for this particular case of course you would like to hear from me. So I try to come up for the Splunk queries for the same investigation queries, but on top of my head I have almost 10 queries which I'm going to answer in my next video. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you have enjoyed this particular session. So if you want to get more and more such investigation scenarios, threat hunt, malware analysis, feel free to subscribe Black Pearl YouTube channel. Do me a comment, leave a comment, and of course like this particular video, share it with your community. So of course, let's try to hack the YouTube algorithm ethically, of course, nothing fishy. And if you know that we have our academy plans also going up, we are having our live BCAD program, Black Pearl Certified Advanced Defender, where we teach all this crazy stuff, all these things like Sentinel, Splunk, loads of threat hunting, deferred investigation, case scenarios, then security engineering, detection engineering. We teach from scratch how to create Sigma, right? And there is something new that has popped up, I think from last year, correlation rules in Sigma, which is a crazy lot of things, right? So we teach all of those things in our BCAD, and we keep continuing with our batches. So 17th February is our new batch starting up, and we take very limited people, max 7 to 8 people in a batch, right? So that we can put concentration on each member, and each batch runs around 4 months of time. Okay, so if you are interested, please, there is a link in the description box. Reach out to our counseling team before the seats run out. I think only right now 1 or 2 seats may be open, but feel free to reach out to them if you want to grab a seat for you. And yes, that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys next time. Stay healthy, stay safe.